The battlefield slept beneath a sky devoid of stars. A cold wind howled, whistling a mournful dirge through the broken shields and shattered bones that littered the killing field. The silence was heavy, pregnant with the ghosts of battles past. The stench of death lingered, a grim testament to the carnage that had unfolded. The moon, a pale sliver peeking through the clouds, cast long, grotesque shadows. They danced across the battlefield, a macabre ballet performed for an audience of the dead. Here and there, flickering pyres cast an eerie orange glow, consuming what remained of the fallen. The air crackled with a strange energy, a tangible hum of sorrow and impending doom. This was a place where hope came to die, swallowed whole by the darkness. A lone figure stirred amidst the carnage. Bjorn, they called him, the bear. His name, a guttural whisper on the wind, spoke of strength, of ferocity, of an unyielding will. He rose from the blood-soaked mud, his armor dented, his spirit unbroken. His hand instinctively went to the axe strapped to his back, a familiar weight, a comforting presence in the heart of despair. Bjorn surveyed the scene, his heart heavy with grief. His comrades lay scattered around him, their faces frozen in eternal screams. He knew this was the way of the warrior, to die with a sword in hand, to meet one's fate with courage. But the sight of his fallen brethren never failed to stir a deep ache within him. They had fought bravely, side by side, their bonds forged in the fires of countless battles. Now they were gone, their laughter and camaraderie lost to the cold embrace of death. The clang of steel on steel echoed in the distance. Bjorn's head snapped up, his senses on high alert. The enemy was still out there, a pack of wolves circling a wounded bear. He hefted his axe, the weight familiar and reassuring in his grasp. Fear, a fleeting shadow, crossed his mind, only to be banished by a surge of grim determination. He would face his destiny head-on with axe in hand, just as his forefathers had done for generations. He charged into the fray, a whirlwind of fury and steel. His axe sang a deadly song, cleaving through flesh and bone. He moved with the grace of a seasoned warrior, each swing precise and deadly, honed by years of relentless training and countless battles. He fought like a man possessed, driven by a primal need to survive, to honor the memory of his fallen comrades. Section 4. The Weight of Destiny. The hours blurred into a relentless cycle of violence and bloodshed. Each fallen foe brought Bjorn no closer to victory, only a weary acceptance of the futility of it all. He was a leaf caught in a raging torrent, swept along by forces beyond his control. Fate, it seemed, had a plan for him, and it was soaked in the crimson of the battlefield. As he fought, a strange sense of detachment settled over Bjorn. He saw the world through a haze of blood and fury. His movements became almost mechanical, his strikes instinctive, driven by something deep within his core. He was no longer fighting for survival, but for something far more profound, something he couldn't quite grasp. Section 5. A moment of respite. The battle raged on, but for Bjorn a strange calm descended. He found himself at the edge of the battlefield, leaning heavily on his axe, his chest heaving. Around him the fighting continued, but he felt strangely detached from it all. It was as if he were an observer, watching a play unfold from a distance. He looked up at the sky, and for the first time he noticed that the darkness was receding. The faintest hint of dawn, a pale sliver of light, was beginning to paint the eastern horizon. It was a beautiful sight, yet it filled him with a strange melancholy. He had survived the night, but for what? To face another day of bloodshed? To witness the deaths of more of his kin? Section 6. Valhalla awaits. A sense of peace settled over Bjorn, a peace that transcended the chaos and carnage that surrounded him. He had fought bravely, he had honored his oaths, and he had faced death without flinching. He had lived and died by the warrior's code, and now something awaited him beyond the veil of this life. What that was, he couldn't say, but he knew with a certainty that defied logic that it was a fate far greater than any earthly glory. He closed his eyes, welcoming the cold embrace of death. He pictured Valhalla, the Hall of Heroes, where he would feast with the gods and fight alongside legends. It was a comforting thought, a beacon of hope in the face of oblivion. He drew one last ragged breath, and then he was gone. The battlefield was silent, save for the mournful whisper of the wind. The bear had fallen, but his legend would live on, etched in the annals of history alongside the bravest of the brave.